Welcome to the Church in the Wild podcast. You'll be hearing the words from worship from Sunday, August 16th, 2026, where we continue our conversation on holy waters with a look at the Susquehanna River. If you want to find out more about Church in the Wild and all of our upcoming events and programs, just go to churchinthewild.org. Thanks for listening.
Hi, everybody. My name's Erin. I joined your congregation one other time, and I'm kind of blown away by the way that you gather and how welcoming everyone has been. So thank you for that. The idea of worshiping in the wild feels very, it makes the most sense. It makes the most sense to me because we're born this way, right? Corey's been very supportive of an action that an organization I work with, called the Waterfall Unity Alliance. And we're organizing a 113-mile walk to come together and pray and sing, and in an effort to protect our waters. It starts near here. The location is changing. We talked about Oquaga Bridge, but now they're looking at the location will shift. But it is both locations we're looking at are within 12 miles of here. And the effort is to try to stop a pipeline that's going in that would take down a bunch of trees and run over 386 waterways and feels very damaging to our the Susquehanna watershed and many other watersheds along the pipeline that runs all the way up to Delanston and Schoharie County. So I put some signs at the back over there that I would love for you, if you have an opportunity before you leave, to have a look at. And I put postcards out, and there's a QR code that you can scan. It's a fracked gas pipeline. But what I really want to communicate is that this isn't a protest. It's not an anti-anything. It's a building of something. So what we're wanting to do is understand if this doesn't work, what does work? And can we build alliances? Can we come together rather than letting these things, so many things out there right now in the political sphere are separating us? So how can we come together through prayer and through song and through movement to build something? So we're not necessarily we do want to stop the pipeline, yes. That is the ultimate goal for this particular action. But the longer goal, what will last much longer past this effort, would be our connection and our alliance. And so we're connecting with as many faith groups as we can along the pipeline, because we're starting with the prayer. We've started with the prayer, and we've started with the songs. So it's called the Women's Water Walk, organized by the Waterfall Unity Alliance. I'm an organizer for the Women's Water Walk, and I can answer any questions that you have about it before you leave today. I think I'm also going to have the gift of offering a meditation to you today. The other hat that I wear is I'm a yoga therapist, and I've been working with yoga and movements my entire life, and as a guide since my entire adult life. And I find that basis in health in my body and in my mind, extension of the health of the earth and of our water. I learned today that, you probably know we're 60% water. Our bodies are 60% water. But I didn't know the distribution of that water. Our lungs are 78% water. And I think of our lungs as being kind of like an air filter, but I feel this movement, this expansion now and retraction of my lungs, more like a jellyfish or something, as it would move through water. And the idea of allowing chemicals to be shot deeply into the earth feels like it's shot directly into my lungs. I don't mean to be overly dramatic, but it does feel this way. I don't feel separate from this earth. And I'm going to guess, since you're worshiping in the wild, maybe you don't either. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with you about this effort. And my primary ask is that you come pray with us and walk with us and sing with us. It starts on the 19th. We'll be near here, either at the Oquaga Bridge, or now we're looking at Arctic Lake as another starting point. But we're looking at what would be the most convenient, and we'll release the exact time and location of each section of a 7-mile walk that lasts over 16 days. We'll release the exact date and location at the latest 3 days before it starts, on the website, on socials, or you can call me, you can come see me, whatever you need to do to get the information. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be around for questions after worship.
Hi, I'm Dolly, and she, her. Our poem today is The Song of the Waters by William Murray Graydon, 1864 to 1946, so probably written around the turn of the last century in a very romantic style. It was midnight on the water by fair Susquehanna's shore. Floating dimly down the distance came the rapids' sullen roar, and the campfire's smoldering embers threw a faint and ruddy gleam, or our tent amid the pine trees on the sparkling moonlit stream. I was sleepless, and the beauty of the radiant starlit night drew me down beside the water with an unresistful might. On the farther shore, the mountains and the heavens seemed to meet, and their deep and purpling shadows stained the current at my feet. Sweet and faintly sang the waters, soft they murmured o'er the stones, and their music seemed to whisper in the sweetest, faintest tones. I am ancient, very ancient. I am aged if a day, and the centuries piled on centuries will attest me what I say. I could sing of trackless forests, never trod by foot of man, of the beasts and birds that loved me through their brief and earthly span. I could tell of newer ages, when the red man trod the shore, when the war whoop's piercing echo rang above the rapids' roar. I could sing of Wyalusing and her brave Moravian men, of the village that they founded, far from haunts of mortal ken, and of standing stone the mighty, close by Wysock's rocky shore, bronzed and gray with countless ages, rich in legendary lore. I could tell of war and treachery, of the tomahawk and knife, of the Tory and the settler, and their sharp and bloody strife. I could sing of fierce Queen Esther and the rock that bears her name, of sweet Gertrude of Wyoming, she of old historic fame. I could sing of love and pleasure. I could tell of grief and pain in the centuries that have flourished, that can never come again. But my duties call me onward. I can here no longer bide. I must haste to have my ripples in the ocean's briny tide. Then the fretful, babbling current drowned the river's rhythmic tone, and the waters seemed to murmur, I am going, I am gone. And the moonbeams' silvery halo danced on river, rock, and shore, and again the forest echoed to the rapids' sullen roar.
I am Laura. Our wisdom today comes from Hermann Hesse's book, Siddhartha. Have you also learned that secret from the river, that there is no such thing as time, that the river is everywhere at time, at the source and at the mouth, at the waterfall, at the ferry, at the current, in the ocean and in the mountains, everywhere and
dressed this nice, but this is what I keep in the car.
All right, last week we tried it out. All water is holy water. Half of them, remember? These guys weren't here last week. Holy, let's try it again. All water is
Holy water!
All water is holy water.
Holy water, Batman.
I mean, we don't need to do anything extra to it. It has been blessed for a specific purpose, right? That's what holy means, set apart. It's been set apart to keep everything alive on this planet. So in my definition, all water is holy water. Even when we are not excited about rain, even the water that leaks from our eyes, even the water that gets dirty in the dish drain, you know, all of it. The muddy waters of puddles, the poisoned waters of industrial sites, all of it is holy. And that's what we're talking about all month long. The incredible properties of water. We've talked about how water can hold on to memories, can absorb wavelengths of energy, whether spoken or even when you put it on top of an image and then freeze it, its ice crystals will mimic the image that it was on top of. Like, yeah, we should touch it. It's incredible. Water is a force that connects us to God because it's holy. It comes from God, right? Everything here is a gift. And so each week of this month, we have been talking about a different body of water. We started with the oceans, and I forget, it was a Catholic theologian who said the ocean is our best icon for God. And an icon, of course, is something we look at that helps us feel in God's presence and connection to it. And the ocean, says this Catholic theologian, is the best icon we have for God. Looking at it, being in its mighty presence, right? It's big, it's infinite, it's powerful, it's life-giving. Then last week, we moved on to the next size down from the ocean on our continent. We've got the Great Lakes, right? Our impressive, largest in the world inland sea that holds 5% of the world's fresh water, or 1/5. That's a very different number. 1/5 of the world's fresh water. We have the landscape we have here on this continent because of those Great Lakes. They are hugely important to our survival, our agriculture, our food system, and we are grateful that they exist here. So now we're getting more local and a bit smaller, I'm sure, by volume, and we've gotten to the Susquehanna River, our river that is here on our shores. I have lived near the Susquehanna River most of my entire life. I love it, and I'm proud to name that I live in the Susquehanna watershed. That is an important thing to me in my life. So important, in fact, I made a shirt of the Susquehanna River. So here's where it starts, and I traced the outline of a map in bleach on my shirt, so you get the whole river. So it starts in Cooperstown, right up here on my shoulder, and it goes through New York and Pennsylvania and Maryland. It empties into the Chesapeake Bay. I love the Susquehanna River. Isn't that cool? It's so cool. It looks kind of like a lightning bolt, but that's the shape of it. It's curvy. This doesn't include its whole western branch either. This is known as the northern branch. It's really the mouth, the source, And then down here, there's a whole western branch that goes farther west into Pennsylvania and even hooks up to the Mississippi somehow.
No, it comes down
No?
and joins the Susquehanna
In another spot. I have things written here. I should read them. So the Susquehanna is considered the oldest major river system in the world. It predates the Appalachian Mountains by 300 million years. It helped create the Appalachians. It is older than the Nile. That's so cool to me. Like the Susquehanna. I will be present. No, there's probably someone who's even nerdier about the Susquehanna River, but I do. I love it. It's older than the Nile. And get this, okay, numerology people, it's 444 miles long.
Okay, Miss, I wanna. We're over here.
So cool.
Yeah, we're literally.
Four is cosmic, yes. Do you remember four is cosmic? You remember four is cosmic.
Thank you for that.
The riddle?
Any number.
We are off. It's all good. 444 miles from Cooperstown through New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland to the Chesapeake Bay. Plus, there's 228 miles of the West Branch, which flows through the land of the largest elk herd in the Northeast United States. So that's pretty cool. The elk are probably obsessed with the Susquehanna too. Western PA has,
What's after Tioga?
yeah. Yes. Yeah. Big elk herd out in Western PA. At its widest, it is 1.5 miles wide near Harrisburg. Yeah.
I was just going to mention that. Have
Yeah.
you ever seen the Susquehanna down around Harrisburg?
Yeah. It's big. It's a big, wide river. It is the longest non-navigatable river for commercial use in North America, making it the best river for recreation use.
No one's ever in it.
Well,
Just screw it up.
yeah.
I remember I was down, I'm sorry to cut you off, Corey, but about 2-3 years ago, I moved back out to living there. I was living in that river when I was a kid. And the first year I moved back, I mean, I couldn't even find anything alive down there, not a frog, not a turtle, and the crayfish that were alive were not the proper color. And over the past year or two, it's got a little bit better, but I mean, like, you know, unbeknownst to me, like, I went and I jumped in when I discovered it was dead, and I could literally feel the issue on my skin. When I got out of the water, I broke out in a rash all over the place. But anyways, back to the programming. I apologize for interrupting.
It's better than it used to be during mining. But the big mining of Pennsylvania really did a number on the Susquehanna. But yeah, it's very good for kayaking and canoeing, I would say. But yeah, swimming, you gotta know the right places to go. It is also the single largest and longest flyway for migratory birds. So they use the river to guide them on their migration paths on the East Coast. The name Susquehanna comes, of course, from the indigenous tribes that lived along its shores, and it means muddy river, or some people think it could be connected to their word for oyster as well, because there are lots of oysters in the river. But probably muddy, because it's pretty muddy. The Lenape, Susquehannock, Iroquois, Haudenosaunee, and many more tribes have called this river their home. So if the ocean and the Great Lakes are life-giving waters, rivers are the arteries that deliver all of their good nutrients to the other places in the continent that need it, right? All that muddy water is really great. It's full of sediment, nutrients, minerals, and it delivers all of that along its 444 miles from up north through this beautiful endless mountains and down into Maryland. So rivers are really important, not just the Susquehanna, although it's my favorite river. They're very important to global health and ecosystem health and delivering water and nutrients. We know, right? Civilization develops on the water. So if you're not on the coast, you're not around the Great Lakes, there's people all along the Susquehanna River. Tribes, before settlers came, lived all throughout that watershed.
And when you're trading by canoe, it's a good trade route.
Yes.
Not so bad.
Yeah, right. It was crucial in the fur trade as a commercial river, but no big commercial ships can travel down it, which is actually a really great thing for all of us and the wildlife that live there. Someone might know, there is one of those really big fish.
Catfish.
Carp?
They're like catfish, but there's another name. There's something else, and I forget what they are, but they're native to the Susquehanna and a few other rivers up here that they don't live anywhere else. Sturgeons. Yeah. Yeah.
Not so much anymore.
Maybe not. But they're important. All of our ecosystem connects back to the water, right? And we talked about last week how all of the water that has ever existed is still the water we have. There's no new water been made. So it travels down that river to the sea and evaporate, the water cycle. Very important in keeping life lifing, growing, living, sharing, right? But we have to be mindful along the river, right? As we've learned, something happens upstream, it affects all those people that live along that river downstream. And not just the people, all the animals and plants. Wendell Berry, one of our wild, is he a wild thing? No, not yet. Not yet. He's going to be. Wendell Berry, the poet and ecologist, said, "Do unto those downstream as you would have them do to you upstream." So that idea that we have to be mindful of who lives downstream from us. Hal Borland says, any river is really the summation of the whole valley. To think of it as nothing but water is to ignore the greater part. So as we talk about the river, and as we talk about these other bodies of water, we aren't just talking about the water itself, but the wider watershed that we live in. And the Susquehanna watershed is huge, right? Especially because of the western bank. It's like within 50, I forget what counts as a watershed, 50 miles from the river, something like that. But we're in it, right? We're in the Susquehanna watershed.
What's the watershed?
The space around a river.
All of the water that.
So the land that, like where any creeks or, streams might contribute to the river, right? Coming downhill. Yeah, that contributes to the flowing of that river. So it's not just the river itself, but all the land around it and the land that has been carved by that river. 2 weeks ago when we started this theme, I said, I've gotten some really cool experiences of water this year. One, being out in the middle of the ocean, open water, seeing no land. Very cool, little creepy. And two was seeing the Grand Canyon, because that is the work of a river, right? I mean, when you think about all that rivers have done to carve out the topography of our homes and the land we know. It's incredible, the power of water, right? So as I think about my beloved Susquehanna, I have crossed that river 1,000, 2,000, I don't know how many times in my life. I grew up down in Wilkes-Barre, and we would cross the river every day to get anywhere, right? And so every time, and up here, I'm crossing the river nearly every day. And every time I do, I'm looking out, right? What's it look like? How high is it? Is it muddy? Is it moving? Is it slow? Sometimes it gets really low in the summer. Lately, I'm like, oh, water's high, right? We've had these big storms. I have watched it rise and fall, going from muddy to a little less muddy. And we've seen it, how rivers can wreak havoc, right? When they overflow their banks. Waters are dangerous, and water wants to join other water, and it will rush together to that river. And we cannot resist it. No matter how much we might build or try, water will find its way to the sea. And I've seen how it nourishes life all along its shores. And I always love that line from the Psalms, I think. Like an oak planted by the water, I will stand strong, you know, and have that constant source of life just running past my roots day in and day out. I have often felt like an oak on the shores of the Susquehanna. Of course, the Abrahamic traditions are full of stories about water because they lived in a desert. So rivers were pretty important. If there was a river, everybody would gather there, right? So they are not just important here in this continent, but all over. Water. We heard last week the Hindu theologian talking about how he now approaches the Great Lakes where he lives now as he would the Ganges in India as a holy, sacred river. They are important places of constant renewal and refreshing, right? Yes, there's currents through the ocean and the Great Lakes flow, but there's a lot of stagnation that happens in lakes, right? The river is constantly new, constantly refreshed. You never step in the same river twice, right? It's always new water. So I'm curious if anybody here has a favorite river story or a connection to another river maybe, or any thoughts that are coming up.
Well, since nobody's talking. I got my dog Wiggle Button here a couple of years ago. I brought her down. She was a pit bull that was scared of everything. I mean, her own shadow, garbage trucks, anything. And she was scared to death of the water. And it took me forever to get her. I got her to play fetch. I got her to go in the water and start swimming back to me. And by the end of the summer, she was swimming across the river and back with me, and then dragging me back across the river to chase her. So Susquehanna is still very enjoyable for me.
Good. We can just go around.
Oh, well, that's I would say. Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
I grew up on the banks, and I too have lived most of my life within sight of the Susquehanna River. And so when I was a kid, we used to go down and swim in it because we were upstream of the mines. We were in Standing Stone. I grew up in Standing Stone. And so I learned a valuable lesson about rivers. I think it's probably true of most rivers, that you cannot trust the depth. If you're walking along, don't just walk, feel to see if your foot's going to drop off into, because I was walking along a nice ledge, it was just about up to my waist, and I took a step and went boom, down into the water. Solid. again. So, yeah, don't mess.
So I grew up in this area, so surrounded by Chenango and Susquehanna River, and then even when I moved away, somehow I'm always blessed to live by some type of body river in Hesse River in DC. I don't know what the name of that river was, the Baltimore, but the Baltimore River stuff. But here, so growing up, they always teach us, in the school and stuff about around us and the indigenous people and everything like that. But one of the things that always struck fear and awe and respect for rivers is the thing about sinkholes. So pretty similar, just how they can be calm on the surface. But when I learned about sinkholes and then the tide, being able to take you under, I was even as a kid though, I was I would go. I was by the river by myself way too often. I know. I heard that. I was I'm gonna go spend a day by the river as a 9-year-old, 10-year-old. The 90s were crazy. But I also too, I did educate myself though. I watched National Geographic, so that type of knowledge just made me more cautious and aware, and stuff. But yeah, I'll have a healthy respect for rivers because it's that tide will take you under, and I'm not a strong swimmer. Even if you are a strong swimmer, the water could want to take you to
Yeah, we got respect Oak River.
Yeah, scary.
Of course I got to talk. Okay, now to Chris.
Oh,
when you're
yeah,
done. My experience was on the James River, which is in Virginia. And my nephew owns a rafting, boating kind of facility, entertainment place. So 8 of us women, who are my sister group, we decided to go tubing last year. And he invited us, and we had strong swimmers and not so strong swimmers with us. And we all got our tubes, and we tied a lot of them together because, there were some frail 70-year-olds in the group, over 70. But it was hysterical. We had the best time. But like Dolly said, you don't get out of your tube, and you don't know how deep. Thomas never lets you go in if he tests the water first on his route. But there were rocks, and when you hit those rocks, and boy, your butt's sticking out of that tube, so you got to be careful. And I'm telling you, we got down almost where we had to get over, because the James got a little tidal. It started getting currenty, and you couldn't control yourself. So we got over, all of us except 2 of us. I got over, but my 2 sisters didn't, and my one sister got scared and got out of her tube, and she shouldn't have done that. So it was like you said, down and up and back. But this little, 50-pound girl from the shore comes running out to save us all. But we did it. But boy, I had an appreciation of that because I'd never tubed before. I've been in rivers and lakes all my life, but I never did that, and I'm telling you, it was a beautiful experience, and I really have to appreciate that river and all the rocks around it. It was incredible. And I lived, so that was even better.
I live in California now, but I grew up in lake country, as you know, raised by Sky Lake, and just recently finished my latest triathlon, and it was the first one I swam as a river swim, and training mainly oceans, and so this was I thought it would be easier because it looked calmer, but the route was a triangle, and so the first leg of it was for cruising, because we were on the current, and we all had this confidence and this ego that we were beating our times, we were doing great, and then the last third leg, and you have to swim in back before, and you have to because otherwise it just is taking you, and then you miss your route and your race. So it was probably one of the most humbling recent experiences, and this was on the Russian River up in Napa. But it was funny because we all thought we were doing great. And the last third, our times were terrible.
Yeah, going against that current.
Yeah, that was some things.
Yeah. That's crazy. Oh, Hannah, thank you. Something nice for you?
So I don't know if this is similar, but is it because you know we all talk about rivers
guys. Yeah. Rivers especially have so many important lessons for us, right? Just like go with the current. Or, right, if you're in the wrong river and you need to get out, you might have to go against the current a little bit. But there's that great quote I've shared before that I think is attributed to the poet John Riddell, but it's certainly inspired by Taoism, that when you're between a rock and a hard place, become water, become water, become water.
I just read that. Like an affirmation or something.
Yeah. And that is so connected to the idea, the Taoist idea of Wu Wei, the non-forceful living. So you're not trying to make anything happen. You're seeing where life takes you, and then, avoiding the rapids if you can, and getting out of the water when you need to, but you're letting the flow carry you along. And it's supposed to be a lesson for not struggling, right? And I think rivers can teach us a lot about that. Wendell Berry must really love rivers, because he has this other great line that says, "The unimpeded stream is the one that does not sing." So when there's rocks and things in the river, you get the bubbles, you get the singing of the river, the splashing. And so, sometimes obstacles are going to get in our way, and we can flow and sing past them, and it creates something new to have an obstacle in a river all of a sudden. A dam forms, right? Or a pond, a lake. Looking at those different places where they have been able to reintroduce animals, and then the rivers change. There's this great YouTube video about the reintroduction of wolves to Yellowstone. Completely changed the river because of the chain effect of the food chain. Beavers were able to live there again and created these dams and made little ponds, and the deer weren't eating all of the trees, so the river got more stable because there were trees to hold it in place. So how the river interacts with the things around it, again, is another great lesson in terms of finding your way through the obstacles of life. One last quote for us. Virginia Vigliar says, "A river is life." A beautiful, uncomfortable metaphor for how you can end up so far from where you started and still carry your source within you, made of the memories and remnants of every place and every person you move past on the way. So, we give thanks for our river, the Susquehanna, and for all the rivers of this earth, and the life, renewal, reflection, nutrients, and connection they bring as they flow. Amen.
Stay seated or come up to stand. It's your choice. I'm going to stand because I'm a very antsy person. And meditation, there have been times in my life when seated meditation worked out really well for me. So let me go back. Meditation. In my experience, meditation is a focus on something and trying to merge this something. This is the kind of meditation that I have learned in the tradition that I learned from my teachers who are Indian teachers there in India. Because I was doing yoga, I just kept going further and further, trying to find source. And the Christian teachers, too, that I worked with, had me focus on a point of focus. One of my dear teachers said to me, "You could pray to the doorknob if you want to pray to the doorknob, but pray, humble yourself and pray." I'll never forget that because I just felt like it was unattainable. And then meditation too, I felt like unattainable. And then the Buddhist teachers I worked with, where I was meant to quiet and be still, I felt all wiggly and it felt very unattainable. And you know what I discovered about all of those things is that I was still striving. As soon as I wanted to be good at it, you know? And even if I didn't notice I wanted to be good at it, I was striving. So I was thinking about this idea of the rock in the hard place and becoming water. And there's a Sanskrit word in yoga that says Ishvara, and Ishvara is God. Pranidhana means surrender. Surrender to God. And that kind of surrender to God. And it's not a giving up. It's a letting go of striving. And in the summers, I love to float. I'm not a great floater, but I like to lay back and try to float. And I notice, so let's try this if you don't mind. If you're able to let your arms relax by your side, whether you're seated or standing, and notice how your feet feel on the ground. It's very hard to let go if we don't feel safe, if we don't feel supported in a larger container. I'd like to suggest that this circle is that container, that all of our rivers and tributaries that run through our body are connecting to each other. Water wants to connect with water. So we're this river right now, and perhaps you can feel the energy and support of the circle, of the flow of the circle, and maybe that allows some movement, perhaps rocking from foot to foot, noticing the heaviness and support in your foot. If this is an uncomfortable or new experience, you feel there's some groundedness. You feel the container of the earth underneath. Perhaps you feel the container of the flow of the circle around you. And if you'd like to rock from one foot to the other, or if you're seated, rocking from one side to the other. And if you'd like now, perhaps taking a deep breath in through those watery lungs, and opening your mouth and saying, and doing that a few more times. I'm going to talk. You're welcome to sigh and sigh and sigh. And perhaps like the experience I was describing when I float on the lake, noticing where you're bracing. Maybe you notice where you might be bracing or holding. So talking with you, you know, I feel a lot of energy. So I notice my shoulders feel jittery and a little bracing. And I'm just noticing that. So notice, without judgment, what sensations do you feel in your body? And maybe in addition to rocking now, you're moving your arms side to side, or maybe you're dropping your head side to side, or maybe you choose to be still. But perhaps through that, noticing where you might be waiting, bracing, or holding. And still breathing, noticing that you're breathing. Noticing the movement of your lungs. Noticing now the expansion and retraction of your rib cage. Maybe now you'd like to roll your shoulders one way and the other. I was called to that because of the jittery shoulder feeling. You might circle your wrists. You might bend your knees. If you're with me and you want to roll your shoulders, perhaps rolling your shoulders forward, and then back. And if you'd like, perhaps lifting your arms. Maybe you lift your arms forward enough, or maybe you lift them out to the side enough and down. coordinating your breath with that. If you like, maybe reaching up as you inhale a big wave up, and exhale, softening the water. If you like, reaching up, big wave, and maybe fingertips add a little raindrops as they're coming down. Maybe twice more if you like, reaching up as you inhale. And raindrops coming down. Exhale. Maybe you'd like to circle your arms behind and touch your fingertips, just noticing the back body and around to your front. Maybe even giving yourself a hug. And allowing you to feel your body, not only with your hands, allow yourself to have to feel your back body with your hands and feel your front body with a hug. Perhaps allowing the safety of the circle and the groundedness of your feet. Now adding to that the support from you, adding your own back and weight, touching your back and hugging your front one more time. And if you're ready and you'd like to find some stillness now, you might lower your arms down by your side, and you might come to sit. You're welcome to stay standing and rocking throughout all of this. So perhaps now, if you've noticed where you're bracing, I call these bracing places bad, no longer useful friends. No longer useful friends. At one point, the lift in my shoulders might have really helped me ready myself. But in this moment, the safety of this moment with you, noticing our breath together, and the safety of the ground below my feet, I might be able to explore what it feels like to let my jaw go, to soften. So let shoulders, perhaps your shoulders, relax and soften. You're always welcome to work with your eyes open or closed, letting your mouth and jaw and tongue and shoulders soften. You're welcome to continue moving or find stillness if you'd like to find stillness. And perhaps noticing that you're breathing. How does it feel to breathe? How does it feel to know that our heart, our lungs, our brain are primarily water? And perhaps knowing that we might broaden the boundary for the banks of those rivers just a bit. Allow some fluidity and ease. You might notice that you're breathing, noticing your breathing. I'd like to offer some phrases of nourishment. And through this, I'm asking the waters of my body, the waters of your body, the waters that were an extension of the earth body, the rain, to nourish each part of our experience. And you're welcome to say it in your mind after I do, or perhaps you'd like to notice that you're breathing. Just noticing your breathing is enough. May my upward, ambitious, motivated energy be nourished. May my upward energy be north. May my downward, existential, dreamy, prayerful, soft energy be north. May the downward energy be north. May the circulatory energy, the circles, be north. May our hearing be north. May our hearing be north. May our minds, may the waters nourish our minds. May our minds be north. May our sense of smell, memories of water, and our sense of smell be north. May our speech be north. The manifestation of sound that comes out of our mouths, our speech, be north. May we rest, soften, connect through this north. May we rest in this north. May we find bliss, peace, love together in this north. May all beings benefit from this north. What feelings in our body are we feeling? What feelings are you feeling? Physical feeling in your body right now. What do you know? They are whole bodies, our whole community, our whole earth, together being one. If you're ready to move, you'll open your eyes, you're welcome to rub your eyes, your arms, or your hands before then perhaps turning to the person next to you and saying thank you.
Deep peace of running waves to you. Deep peace of flowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the shining stars to you. Deep peace of the source of peace to you. And you say peace, salam, shalom. 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 Peace, salam, shalom.
Thanks for listening. If you want to support Church in the Wild and the work we do in striving for environmental and social justice, just head on over to our website, churchinthewild.org, and click the donate link at the top. There you can make a donation, set yourself up as a recurring supporter, or you can buy something from our Redbubble shop. We're so glad you're with us on this journey, following the Spirit through creation, adventure, and restoration. Until next time.